Welcome everyone to today's release party for the Omnitas time reporting solution. So with me here today, I have, of course, Thomas Carlson, who's the RCO and the product owner of the time reporting solution. Have our intro, which we more or less already did. Then we're going to talk, just reiterate a bit, why time reporting, and then what's new. And the big point here today is the demo and the show and tell section where Thomas is going to take us through this now releasing app and everything cool it can do. Thomas, why time reporting, really?
I don't know how many attended the old webinar we did with the preview, but both me and Frederick, we actually have a background in consultation organizations where time is the most valuable and tracked resource. We were part of an organization that had contracts. We were supposed to work X amount of hours per client per month, and then we also needed to make sure that our consultants who were paid based on the work they were doing towards the client had everything in place. And even at that point, we didn't care if it was integratable with Monday or not. We just wanted to have the best time reporting solution. We went through a 6-month review. We selected a platform, and 3 months down the line, we were still super diluted and really didn't feel like we were getting what we needed. So we have some really interesting backgrounds going into this. Being a Monday partner, having identified that time reporting is one of the, let's call it, the weaker parts of Monday. The time tracking column is really good, but it's kind of like isolating the information. It's keeping it locked off, and we can't really use it the way we want to, maybe. So time tracking, that's for understanding how much time we spend on individual deliverables. It's view bottlenecks and learn about our information. Time reporting, it's when we sit down end of week, end of month, and we say, this is what I spent my time on. We can use it from invoicing perspective. We can use it from a payroll perspective, but it's different than time tracking, because time tracking, we want to know exactly how many minutes each thing took, right? So the super serious companies, they even install spyware, sort of similar softwares on the computers to really learn what people are spending their time on. Time reporting, this is what we wanted to focus on, because it's one of those areas that we really haven't been able to solve well natively in Monday. So the app is there.
There's happened ton or a shitload in the app since we last saw it a few months ago. What's new? Could you give us a sneak peek or just a inkling before we go in and show and tell, because I know there's a lot.
Yeah, so we have a planning view that's been built out completely. We have a lot more rigid settings. We have item level permission support. We have holiday and vacation support, and we can also comment on time that we're reporting right now. So yeah, it's really cool what we have coming in.
Yeah, and I know there are some template updates as well, I think, right?
Yeah, so right now when you install the template package, you get the time reporting board, you get the level 1, level 2 reference board, the client project activities, you get the budgeting / planning board, you get a national holidays board, you get a vacation like personal holidays board, and soon you will also be getting a dashboard that's helping you actually look at all of this at once. Yeah, so we also have definitely a dedicated approval view in the time report.
Yeah, I really love that one. That's why I brought it up. So, where do I find the app?
The app is currently, it's been submitted to the app marketplace. It's currently being reviewed. By next week, we'll have it available in the marketplace. Up to that point, we actually have a special install link on our webpage where you could install it earlier. And I'm pretty sure, without knowing, Frederick will send out that link to everybody who attended after this.
It just might happen. And if you want it already, go to www.omnitas.se, click what do we do? Solutions. And there you can find the app with the install link. With that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand it over to you.
Thank you. First of all, once you have installed the app, in order to get access to these boards that are pre-configured for you, when you go in and add a board, you go to choose from templates, see more templates, and you can either go to like project management, or you can just start typing time, and you will find the time reporting templates with all the boards. And when you hit use template, it will install all the boards for you. The time reporting board is just a board. The app and the magic is actually a view that's added to it. So what we have, in order for this to work, we need a person column. We do need at least one connect to board. We need at least one date column and at least one numbers column. Everything after that is extra. Like you see here, I have two status columns. One for is this submitted, and one if this is approved, because I can go in and do column restricted editing on this column. So only managers can approve the time later on. I want to have, I can have up to 3 relative units to report against from a hierarchy perspective. In this example, we're using client project activities, but it could be cost center, project, billable, non-billable. It can be whatever you want it to be.
Yes, and I think that's actually quite important to stress this here to all of you now, because we have gotten some questions during beta and everything. It can be whatever you like it to be, and I can't stress that enough. We just have used, as an example, clients, projects, and activities. It's an example, guys. Change it if you need to.
Throughout all of this, we try to keep it open. We try to allow you as much freedom as possible, and especially we try to make sure that we leverage Monday native functionality as well as possible as well. So that's why we built it this way. The date column, the numbers column. The numbers column will, in most cases, be hours, but it doesn't have to be hours. If you report time on minutes, you can also go in and say days. You can say units of whatever you want, right? I have in my activity boards, I have selected that some activities are billable, some are not. So that's something I'm mirroring in this example. And I also have a workload perspective, because I want to compare my planned hours versus what's been reported. So I need a negative value. A really easy way to get a numbers column into a negative value in Monday is a formula where you multiply by -1, right? And then we have the notes. So this is the board. Let's jump into the time reporting view, and let's start with the settings. The settings, cogwheel, always cogwheels. You know the deal, guys. That's how we find our settings in Monday. So this is the settings. As you see, my level 1, my level 2, and level 3, I specify the relationships between them. You see that when I remove, they also get removed from the view here. I can change the order. I can make it any way I want. Which person column is guided, date column, hours column, my status columns, and my notes. Do I want to show weekends? Yes or no? Do I want to show the row total to help me see how much time we actually spent? I can enter my unit. And this is the interesting thing as well, constraining column. This means that if I have specified certain projects for client 1, I can only select out of those specific projects. And we're using a prefix, in this case allowed, as a determiner to see which ones are allowed. So let's open the client board in another tab and let's look at it. So I have allowed projects here as a connect to board to my other project board. And this is what's saying, so client 1, we can only specify project 1 and project 2, but client 2, we can specify project 2 and 3. This is the people that are allowed to report against client 1. So we can even make sure that we restrict the persons. So if you're not one of these 4 people here, you cannot select client 2. And by not selecting client 2, you cannot select any of their relevant projects either.
Awesome when we can basically put it on the first bracket and then everything rest is gone. So we don't need to basically go in everywhere to do stuff. That's great.
Yeah. Yes, and keep in mind now this is a default template in order to provide something for someone who's new with Monday. You guys, you probably already have a client registry in Monday. Make sure you use that as your reference in the connect to board, right? And from there, you should probably already have a connect to board to your projects. All you need to do is probably mirroring your people from the projects to see who's the relevant people on those projects. And then you can actually get from project, restrict people on client. Awesome. So that's it. And you see we're having some some additional colors here. This is actually the holidays and vacations. So Friday, you see both Frederick and Gustav is red, whereas it is just yellow for Frederick over here. So we have this in a holiday setting. It has to be here because the Monday.com framework for the view doesn't allow the settings we need. So we have a holiday setting here. Is this a corporate holiday? By saying it's a corporate one, it's being applied to everybody, right? So that's how we differentiate. Everybody or just people. How do we want to visualize this in the table? Which board is it? To, from, and so on. And this is a personal, so there's also a person column dictating it. So this is our personal holidays board, fetching all the information here. So I'm currently viewing this from a manager perspective, so now I'm not a manager anymore. So if I want to report time, this is the week we're working in right now. Let me add a row. My person is already specified here. I have client 2, project, free. My activity is 1. All right, let's go. Cool. So now I can say 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours, and I'm adding 2 hours. I can add a note. Just like, if when you mouse over a status column, you get the dog ear, and you can click the dog ear, and it gives you the ability to enter a comment to it. And that comment will be in a text column, making it easy for you guys to export it later on. So I went back into manager mode so I can see everybody else's. I selected that my week is ready. I submitted it. And when I go to next week, I can go in and copy from most recent week, and then I get everything. And you can see now I'm actually on vacation, but I can go in and report some time from Gustav, and Frederick is actually on vacation as well, but not this time example. Cool. So let's say submit, and I get a bunch of notifications that this is submitted. And when I switch to, let's look at the main table. We see, can collapse this one. We can collapse the workload as well.
And I can see now that what it's actually done is created an item for everything, right?
Yeah, so that's how it works, and that's why we are structuring the data to be very, very easy to use from integrations for future reference and so on. So you're getting good naming, you're getting all the references in here, the date, the hours, but also your notes. So this will be quite easy to export. And then obviously let's jump into the approval view, which is just exactly the same view, but we have changed the setting for the status column to the approval column. That's basically what we have done. And my current now, my time here in this week is ready for approval. And with approvals, I can have whatever we want happening, because approvals change the status in Monday. So in our case, we're just moving it to another group to show you, but we have full access to the Monday.com Automation Center because we're using statuses as triggers.
Which is so cool. Actually, we have a couple of questions here, which I think might be a good place to actually take. Shai actually... I think he wanted you to show us a bit closer on how you actually blocked the days for vacation and holidays.
Yeah. So the national holidays, all we do is we have the board that we have referenced. We have a date, and that's it. So this is the 25th of June, the 24th of December. We can add additional. So let's say, what should we do?
New Year's Eve.
No, special TK holiday.
21st of November.
No. September 21st. It's my wedding day, by the way, guys.
Oh, okay.
So when we go back to the time reporting now, let's jump in, and obviously I have a bunch of, just because of that, let's change to the monthly view. So I can go June, July, August, September. So I'm adding a row. Let's say Thomas, client 1.
And here we saw that you were actually in manager views. You could choose whichever person you'd like.
Very good observation. So there we go. That's my new corporate holiday, because apparently everybody at Omnitas has a day off on my wedding day. Guess we're having a party.
Awesome. And now I'm actually going to answer a question right away. And Brandon asked, will there be support offered for the time reporting app? Yes, you are much obliged to just email support@omnitas.dev, DEV. And you can also find all the contact information on the app site on our website. So there you can find everything.
We also have a quick link here in the 3 dots, email support.
Yeah. So
you have the
support. Yeah. And we try, our aim is always to trying to answer you within 24 hours business during business week, in the business week.
The personal holidays, we in both personal and corporate holidays, we can either support 2 date columns or a timeline column. You find it in the settings, but for personal holidays, it makes more sense with a timeline. And if you want to have this as a form, easy to access, you can still use from and to. And then we have a really good app that helps you convert 2 dates into a timeline. We all know it. We've been talking about it. It's called Dates to Timeline. It's by excellent team, really good tiny help app that helps out a lot. This is how we do the personal holidays, and we can have as many of these as we want. So we could actually have these locked off in private team holiday boards if we don't want to share people's absence. And it's Monday. We are always using the Monday permission structure. So whatever you're allowed to see, you see. Whatever you're not allowed to see, you don't see.
Lee asked here, how would we handle half days? Happens a lot in the UK. Maybe put it in a group, Lee, and have that as special color, so you know that, for example, orange, that's half days, or whatever color you choose. And then you'll know.
We actually have exactly the same thing in Sweden, and as Frederick says, let's do this could be 4 hours, this could be 8-hour holidays, and then you mark them accordingly.
Anna said, I love the app. Thanks, Anna. So do we. This question is for later. Could it be possible for a person to see their budgeted time when not being manager, so only seeing their own time when they report and the time that's been budgeted?
Gotcha. So I assume that, Anna, you're referring to, we have the budgeting, the planning view, and the budgeting and planning view is very different, because this is basically, our old company. So for client 2, project 2, we have sold 40 hours this month, 40 hours this month, and 40 hours this month. This is what we need to do, right? As you see, I'm currently planning these projects without a person because I'm allowed to. But let's say that we want to have a person, we can still add a people column in here. So when we add, so we can say like Frederick, you are supposed to work on client 1 and project 2.
Love client 1.
Yep.
My best client.
And you have 10 hours. You have 10 hours here. Let me add another row, and instead of Frederick, I do Thomas, and we are sharing these these hours now, right?
Yep.
Okay. You always will see the raw data in the table, and as you see, these are the people here. But in the planning view, you won't be able to see this unless you're a manager. But you could always move this to other boards and show it and so on. You could also have a time reporting view on top of this as well to see it. But the idea is that you're not supposed to consume it here, Anna. So let me just move forward and say, this is where the time report, the dashboard comes in. So we have a few different things here. So let me show them shortly. This here is all the reported time and vacation to make sure that we're actually up to par. And our par is 40 hours, right? So Fredericks has parental leaves in here as well. So that's how we're getting to the full volume. Gustav has time, and then he has his vacation. So we can see that he's good until like the 9th of August. So that's why we had workload in the national holidays and the personal holiday board as well, in order to actually get a proper view of, is there spare time to report?
Yeah, and I mean, working with just a blank space is never really good. So, for example, here in Sweden, we actually have quite long summer vacations, and it's really good for us to know when they happen, because we don't go all at the same time, obviously. So it's nice to know that, oh, Viggo is gone, can't plan work on him because his workload is actually full.
Yeah.
But Julia has the spare time for it. Okay, let's plan there instead.
And so down here, we are comparing client 1 and client 2 and client 3. How much time have we said that we're supposed to be spending on the client, and how much time have we actually reported? As you see here, we have some discrepancies, and that's due to this being demo data. This would be a really bad situation. Someone has messed up on project client 2.
That's a very expensive project at the moment.
And we can do the same thing. We can group on project as well, so it doesn't have to be on client. I have included a Word thingy for all the notes we had in the time reporting, just to see what people are actually talking about easily. This would be the vacation that we're showing. I love the pivot table. The pivot table allows me to easily and quickly understand and group and change stuff, because right now I'm looking at May, June, July, how much time we have for client, project, activity, person. But I can just as easily say, no, I don't care about the activity. I want to see this on person level, or I don't want to see the person. I just want to keep this on client or project. And I can even jump back and say on client all the way, right? So the pivot table is one of my favorites, like Insights, and it's so quick to customize and get a good view of what we're actually looking at.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a pivot table is, I always hated pivot tables before, but I learned to love them. And they're quite easy to love when you actually use them. Actually, we got a question here, which I think could fit well in. It's Shai again. For the workload for holidays and vacations, is it possible to configure a formula that will calculate the work days and multiply that by the amount of hours per day, so the workload will be generated automatically?
Yes, that's exactly what we have done.
Yeah, I know. So, that's why I kind of thought that was why it was a nice to have now.
Yeah. So the formula is called work days, and if you use the work days and then you use the start and the end time of your timeline, it will give you the work days. So let's just remove this final piece here. So this is the amount of work days that we have in this span, and then we just apply it by our volume, daily volume.
George said that in order to get the pivot table functionality, will I need an enterprise license for Monday? Yes, you will, George. It's only included in the enterprise at the moment. Thanos actually asked here, can you track overtime? I guess OT is overtime differently in time tracking. I think he meant in the time reporting app.
We can do it in the simplest way, the one that we're currently working on. But this is a good question because it's one of the things in the roadmap. We want to look at, can we do this in a different way? But the easiest way would be to say, what is our, let's do a formula. What's our daily volume? Our daily volume is 8 hours, right? So you do a formula where you say, if hours is more than 8. So let's just do the first one. I always do a positive and negative one. So there we go. We have one that's positive, right? Cool. So now we can take the positive and say hours minus 8. This would now be our overtime.
Awesome. And since that's in Monday, we can use it.
So I wanted to show, we actually did 2 more dashboards. This is the same workload widget, but we have the capacity per client and the effort per client, or we do exactly the same thing for projects. So keep in mind that we can use the workload widget for other stuff than people. And then we have a plethora of what can happen afterwards. We can automate everything. We can move things going forward and backwards and inwards and outwards, right? We can report on week. We can report on month. We have our planning view, where we can either go in and say, this is what we need to show, to say weekly, or if you want to plan on the same granularity, and this is very important, if you want to plan on the same granularity as you report on, saying like, no, I want to specify amount of hours per day per person, you shouldn't be using the planning widget. You should actually be using the time reporting widget, just having a special status for this is planned, this is not reported, this is planned time. So now we can easily see that, oh, this is not the final, it's something that it's an idea, and then you can go in and change it to whatever happened, and then you can go in. So let me show you something quickly as well. We have, we have board permissions, right? You are allowed to, in the enterprise feature coming soon, you can view only the time entries that you all have done yourself. This will be supported in the app. You also have the edit contents on item assigned to them in the person column. We can support that as well. But keep in mind that when you want to enter a new row, you're not assigned to that row in Monday, meaning that you actually are not allowed to edit it. So we had to build a little help thing. So if you need to enable this permission option, we have a little integration help app, or allow time tracking users to create and remove rows assigned to them in the person column of the board with edit content permissions.
So don't forget to activate that one.
Yeah. And that's the only situation where you have information middle landing from an integration perspective. Otherwise, like we said before, you have everything contained within Monday in your browser.
Yeah. Now we actually got a question here from Andrew. Can you show how to set up a simple widget for clients' budgeted hours against actual, not in pivots, because we're not on the enterprise plan over here. Why not, Andrew? Why not? But yes, Thomas, could you maybe just show them how you set up that in the dashboard?
Yeah. So first of all, my tip would be, when you do the connection to your client board, when you do the setting, you're allowed to check the box, say, do you want a reverse link created? Yes, you want a reverse link created, because then you have a connection to the client from your time reporting. You have a connection to the client from your budgeting, right? So we have the same thing here. We have client 1 here. Both those together, if I actually go to the client board, this is the links I have to client from the time reporting and the budgeting, meaning I actually have all the information I need here. So this is where you can see we have budgeted 240 hours against client 1. We have spent 88 hours. So we can either just do this simple, because I assume that you're on the pro, so you at least have the formula. So let's do budget minus time. So that would be the difference, right? In my time management dashboard, I have actually used those columns. So that's what we're seeing here. So let me actually go into these settings. So for all, the only board I'm fetching data from is the client board, because I have in my I have my budget and I have my time. So I'm mirroring everything back to that board, so I don't have to view it separately. I don't need to fetch this data from different places. And now when I have a formula column, I could add that one as well, just for added visual effect, right?
There's a ton of new things. So it's the vacation, it's the comments, it's the new templates, and everything actually works as it should.
It's quite fun, because I feel like this app is a good starting point. It's a great gap closer. In the roadmap, like we said, we have we're going to look at how we can manage overtime in a different way. We're going to look at how start and stop time, but we're also going to be looking at how can we actually help you from an archiving perspective as well to manage the data over time. Right now, we have to automate that with multiple.
So there's a lot of things coming up.
Yeah. So the app is $2.99 per user per month. If you go with an annual, you'll get the 12-month for free, and then Frederick will do all the naughty plugging now.
Yes, it's that time of the day, I guess. So, guys, please make sure when you're on our website, look in the footer and you can sign up for our newsletter. I know many of you already are, but please, if you're not, with that said, thanks so much from us. We will be back with new webinars and new updates in August again.